Finding the percentage of an amount is a skill that you will have used quite a lot both within primary school and in secondary school. Today what we're going to do is take a look at some of the common types of problems in which you would use percentages to solve that problem. First one we're going to look at is inflation. Now for any of you who follow the news or watch the news, you will see that inflation is an amount where goods and services increase over the period of time. Generally it's over a 12-month period, and we quite often hear on the news that next year inflation is estimated to be a certain percentage. When dealing with percentages, quite often what people regularly do is work it out as a percentage of the amount and add it to the amount or subtract it to the amount depending on whether the amount is increasing or decreasing. In this case, inflation is a rise in the price of goods, so it has to be added to the original amount. Our example is we've got an electricity bill in 2017. It's going to be 3.1% higher than what it currently is. It's $350 at the moment. It's going to increase by 3.1%. Quite often what people would do is calculate 3.1% of $350 and add it to it. An easier way and a quicker way of doing that is just making that percentage as a decimal and adding it to 1. Now, as you all know, whenever we multiply anything by 1, we get that original amount. In this case, we're increasing it by 0.031, which is our percentage. If that amount was going to decrease, we would subtract that 0.031 from 1 and multiply it by the original amount. It saves us having to go through 2 steps. So our example says that we've got a bill of $350. We're increasing it by 3.1%, so we multiply 350 by 1.031, gives us a grand total of $360.85. Another problem we see regularly where we use percentages is GST. At the moment in Australia we have a 10% goods and services tax which is put on a number of items, and this is a form of tax that we pay to the government at the supermarket checkout or when we pay for a service. As it's 10% at the moment, if we follow the train of thought from before and we're going to add it to 1, makes it 1.1, we multiply whatever amount we're looking at by 1.1 to give us our GST. In this instance, we're looking at $45 and we're going to increase $45 by 10%. We multiply our $45 by 1.1, gives us a grand total of $49.50. Some of the questions you will be asked, however, you will be asked to find out what the pre-GST amount is after you've been given the price of an item with GST already applied to it. If you are asked to do that, all you do is you divide that amount by 11. If we looked at the original amount that we talked about with our GST of $45 and said, right, our post-GST amount is $49.50. If you were asked to determine what the pre-GST amount is, all you would do is go $49.5 or $49.50, divide it by 11, which will give you your pre-GST amount of $45. When we're talking discounts, this will apply to what we were talking about in our previous topic where we were looking at percentage increase or decrease. Here we've got a discount, which is the reduction in the overall price of an item. When you go to the shops at Christmas time or the post-Christmas sales, you will see that prices have been reduced. For example, we've got The Good Guys offering a 5% discount for paying cash. If we're going in to buy a new kettle and the price is $85, we want to work out how much we will pay at the checkout. Now, as I said before, we're discounting here, so if we take our 5% as a decimal, it would be 0.05. What we do now is we subtract that from 1, it gives us 0.95. Therefore, we can go $85 is the amount. we're going to multiply it by 0.95 because our price is reducing. We're not going to get the original amount and add. Here, we need to reduce it from the original amount. Multiply 85 by 0.95 and we find that at the checkout, we will pay $80.75. Now, commission. This is earned by salesmen, whether they be selling property, cars, any sort of item. And a commission is an amount that is paid to the salesman based on the price of the item that has been sold. For example, if you've got a car salesman who earns 2.5% commission on the sale of a car, in this case it's a new Ford Territory sold at $46,000, if we're going to calculate the commission that he would earn on that, which means the amount that he will be paid for selling that car, multiply $46,000 by our 2.5%, in this case it's going to be a decimal as 0.025. Make sure you're really careful when you're doing this and ensure that your 2.5% is shown correctly as 0.025. If you get those decimal places wrong, you will end up all out of whack and you'll get the answer incorrect. In this case, we find out that the salesman will earn $1,150 for selling that new Ford Territory at $46,000. Another use of percentages is when we're trying to determine profit and loss, or the percentage profit or the percentage of loss. Now, similarly to when we were looking at percentage increase and decrease, we need to determine the amount of profit or the amount of loss first. In this case, if a kettle costs the good guys $45 to buy and then they sell it for $85, we can work out the profit. $85 is what they're going to sell it at, $45 is what they've bought it for. They've made $40. We put that over the amount that was paid, which is $45. So we will have 40 over 45, multiply it by 100, and we find out that the percentage of profit is 88.9%. Now, whenever you're solving problems like this, when you come up with the answer on your calculator, if it needs to be rounded, please ensure that you signify in your answer that the answer has been rounded like this, in this case, to one decimal place. Put in brackets 1dp, 2dp, whatever the question has asked. Alternatively, if there has been a loss on a sale, in this case, the kettle cost the good guys $45 to buy, they can't sell it, they have to reduce it to get rid of it, they sell it for $35. They've made a $10 loss. So we put the $10 over the original amount that was paid, in this case it's 45, multiply it by 100, and we find out that the percentage loss is 22.2%.